right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Honcast here. We got it. We have finally made it. Patch 3.7, the 5th year is here. We are excited to be here, and obviously it is a huge patch. Today is a celebration, really, of the 5-year anniversary of Heroes and Doers, so really extra excited to be here and get going with talking about, well, a lot of that's happened with the patch. Specifically with this podcast, going to be focusing more on the balance side of things, and again, picking and choosing a couple of the more important ones, more impactful ones, and things that perhaps we feel that are going to have significant value moving forward. So there's plenty to talk about, not only with that today, obviously later on today, the Deadeye Bounty League action going to be coming at you after this podcast eventually. Fresh versus Team Disband with this new patch. Who knows what's going to happen when it comes to that. So really, again, just excited to be here in the end. With that said, as you can see, I'm joined by several fellow co-casters for today. So I'll start throwing it around here. Below me on your screen, you got the one and only Saintrox is actually here. Saintrox, how's it going?
It's been great, man. Happy to be here.
Excited to have you. Znoowy also going to be joining us. Znoowy, how you doing?
I'm doing fine as well. I'm excited for the new patch. Some really cool changes.
That there is. And then Khezu, you've probably heard of him too. Player for Sync Esports. He's also going to be giving us his insight. Khezu, how's it going? Your mic's muted. You are already failing.
Sorry, guys. Doing pretty good. I would like to get to playing, but first, we're going to do some talking here.
We got to talk about it. Yeah. You guys going to be scrimming today, I heard. I mean, that must be interesting knowing that with so many changes happening. I'm like, do you have any idea what you guys are going to be practicing as far as with all these changes go, or are you kind of just going to wing it here?
I have no idea. I think we'll try some stuff today, but I have no idea what and which hero and when. I have no idea.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so, again, guys, this is a big patch. A lot has happened from a new game mode to just all these balance changes and whatnot, so we're not going to sit here and discuss every single change. That would literally take us at least 5 hours, 6 hours or so, and I don't think, we love Han and all, but I don't think we want to be drawing this out that much here. So we have selected a good amount, though, as far as what we wanted to go over, like I was talking about these guys yesterday, whatnot. More significant ones that we feel perhaps are going to have impact, again, sooner than later. So, really kicking it off, I don't think there's any point to delay it any further. Let's start talking about what's going on here with this patch. I mean, guys, you can check out the patch notes for yourself. I know the forum's a little bit laggy right now because of all the attention being brought to it, but if you haven't seen the patch yet, it's ridiculous. It's just so many pages of patch notes, a lot of changes taking place, and again, including several reworks that happened to several different heroes. So we're actually going to start in kind of that section here. Some of the heroes that got reworked. Well, let's start with specifically one, Hellbringer. We'll start with Hellbringer here. I think that's a good one to start with. So Hellbringer, he had some, let's just say, again, significant changes. It is a true rework here. No longer Unholy Shackles, at least in essence. His Death Boils obviously changed a bit. He's a little bit more crowd control heavy now. And Malphus also changing slightly, especially in the sense that you only spawn one Malphus back to one Malphus. Kind of come full circle there, as I said in the Spotlight video, rather than the 3 on top of it. So less micro-intensive. On top of that, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of impact Hellbringer starts having now. Personally, I will say this right off the bat. This is one of the more exciting changes I'm looking forward to, as I've always been a fan of this hero. So, we'll start throwing it around here. Saintrox, we'll start with you. Well, what do you think about this Hellbringer rework and what it's going to do here?
All right, I think it's going to make Hellbringer pretty OP just right off the bat. However, he's also going to be a lot more fun. He's got a bunch new skill shots that I really like. His Q spell is going to be pretty intense. It's not that easy to hit, but it has pretty good reward on when you actually land the fear and damage. Mm-hmm. And then I guess all in all, he's going to be... I think he's going to be owning in TMM. I think with the new changes, he has a lot more damage, it seems like, than he used to have. And Malphus is also like I tested it in practice mode. That guy is fast now. He will run you down. Like there is no escaping Malphus. Yeah. And he shoots fireballs as well. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to really see him like get play because obviously the patch just got released. But my projection of Hellbringer is going to be 90% win in TMM.
Okay. I mean, I like to think Waz at least knows a little bit what he's doing here. So, as far as a 90% win percentage, that would be pretty
90%.
ridiculous. But
90%.
I guess we never know, right? We never know. Znoowy, what do you think on the Hellbringer changes here?
I agree with what Saintrox is saying about the team matchmaking. He's probably going to be stronger there than in the competitive scene. But yeah, the interesting part I feel like is going to be that first Q spell that's being reworked. Instead of a slow, he got a disable now, so he can actually cancel people from teleporting and help in assisting in ganks and possibly even run a dual lane. So I'm thinking more maybe Hellbringer support's going to be seen a lot more. Because I think he can or got the option to actually box out suicide heroes successfully now as well, seeing as he got that 600 attack range.
Yeah, that is true.
And yeah, also the Malphas, it's pretty much like he has Ghost Marchers now, so that's going to be fun to play around with.
So Malphas did get his speed increase? I wasn't actually even aware of that. He got so many changes. I guess that happened to be one of them.
It's crazy fast. Really.
Yeah,
and
425. 425 movement speed at level 3. So...
Level 6, it's level 1, it's 375. So that's still faster than your average hero with boots.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, so got some, again, all across the board, he got some good buffs, and it's, again, this rework definitely pretty intense here. Khezu, last but not least, but what is your take here on these Hellbringer changes?
I don't know. At least in my team, I was always one of the few people that liked Hellbringer. Maybe it's because I played very back then when he was popular. Mm-hmm. I think this rework makes him a lot stronger than what he used to be. It's like his spells. They're like, you don't just have your ulti now that deals like AoE damage. You have your Q that can deal AoE. Now you don't have to drop your ulti to cancel teleports if they try to get away. And just overall across the board, you have a lot more damage. Your E spell is also a lot easier now because it's like passive built-in. HP regen for you.
Yeah.
And his ulti was buffed as well. I would say all of his spells received pretty significant buffs here.
Yeah, changing all across the board. And I like what you guys are saying right there. Again, Hellbringer, it's safe to say, even though we never see him nowadays, obviously he did have a point in history and competitive scene, especially where he was, and the biggest reason was because of that ultimate. The Malphas, the summon Malphas, being the superior stun, being as huge of a radius it is to initiate into team fights. I mean, there's no doubt that's still one of the strongest, it always has been, team fight abilities in the game. So it's just his other skills have always been lacking. It's very safe to say, from the shackles to the death boil, just really not doing a whole lot. And I think, kind of intended because of how powerful the ultimate was. But now he's got some more utility with the crowd control and the Q, as we're pointing out. The AoE death boil, even a little more powerful on top of that. Going to be used for farming constantly with, I'm sure. And then, I like we talk about with the E right there. What is it called? The Evil Presence, as it's now called. That little zombie minion that you get, having the choice to send it in and slow people down, as well as reducing their magic armor, or just simply having it up to have the passive lifesteal with magic damage dealt. I from a support option, like Znoowy said, to I guess that kind of comes back to also laning is always something to talk about with heroes too. So support options Znoowy thinks is possible. Do you guys see it anywhere else? Like, could this be a solid middle option now, you think?
I think he could easily mid.
Maybe we just everyone takes it at the same time. Let's go.
Let me take it first. I think he can definitely be ran as a solo. He could even be ran suicide if you know it's a 1-on-1. Probably not preferred, but I think he can do both supporting and soloing. I would like him more as a support personally, I think.
Yeah.
Because he offers a lot in lane. He has good damage, good range. He has a double disable with his Q, having 2 charges. I think he would be more viable as a support, but he could be ran mid too, or solo for that matter.
Okay. Any suicide potential?
A little bit, I would say.
Yeah. Not the greatest escape, but he's got the lifesteal and has decent crowd control, so I'd be curious. Saintrox, you have any further opinions on that?
Yeah, I think, as Khezu said, competitively, I'd probably see him more as a support than anything else. Just because his ult, like, the same reason we see, what's her face? Rift in...
Walker.
Walker. Is it Walker? I was like, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, the same reason we see Riftwalker and Behe and Magnus picked up on second support is because they have these really great ultis. And on top of that, he also has really long range on his spells now. Like the Q spell you can probably hit someone 2,000 units away from you, if you time it correctly. So there's some gank potential in him, and a lot of magic damage. So I see him as a good support. And in TMM, he's probably going to be solo mid and just shrekking faces.
90% win percentage.
90% win.
That's what Saintrox is confident with.
Okay.
Znoowy, anything further to add with that as far as where he's going to be played? You mentioned the support, but again, could you see him also as a mid option, or do you think it's really just that support?
I would rather say solo safe lane. In that case, like old BMG style. Maybe have an offensive tri lane and then run the Hellbringer in that 1 versus 1 situation. In mid, I don't think it's going to be too successful. Lately, it's mostly been, or at least looking from the DreamHack qualifiers, mostly been like Flux, Midas, those kind of tanky ranged heroes to survive stun combinations. So I don't think that a hero without escape mechanism is going to do too well. I guess it depends on if you can actually last it successfully with his Q. I haven't really tried it in practice yet, but yeah, support mostly, I would say.
All right, so again, Hellbringer rework coming at you guys. Looking forward to that. That's on my top 3, even I think, as far as heroes that I want to play. Looking forward to. So coming up with this patch, so yeah, excited to get going with him and getting that 90% win percentage kicking in. 2,000 MMR, baby. Saintrox believes it. So do I. So do I. All right, let's move it on, though. We got another hero that got a significant rework, and this one I sure specifically Khezu even probably excited about. Wild Soul. Wild Soul getting some changes here. Yeah, he got a pretty significant rework himself. Boo Boo more so. Also the synergy of them. They have the Soul Linkish kind of ability now where when one takes damage, the other does as well. I mean, Boo Boo or Wild Soul himself now gains Boo Boo abilities from the lifesteal to the new swipe ability that he has. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy as far as these changes go. So definitely going to be played a little bit different. And also worth noting, too, as we mentioned with Hellbringer, with Malphus, how you can micro and whatnot. There is a new thing also added in this patch with the ability to let the AI basically micro for you. There's actually now an option you can select instead of having a micro where they would basically attack whatever you're attacking. So you don't have to constantly keep sitting in the back end. So for those players that, would rather just simply play with one hero, so there's an option there. But for us skilled players here, we like to control it ourselves. No, but again, Wild Soul. Khezu, I want to start with you. What do you think of these Wild Soul changes?
All right, let's see. Where do I start? I like that he had they reworked his spells. I'm a little bit sad that they took the entangle away, but you have the swipe now, which is you can have it both on your bear and your hero, which it's kind of like a Catman Stomp. I don't know if it's the exact same.
It's 150 damage, I know that. So it's a good amount of damage.
Yeah, and then you share damage with your bear and you deal higher damage. So I personally think he's gonna farm faster. I don't know exactly how it works with AoE. Do you know if both his bear and his hero get hit? How does it work? Does he practically take double damage?
Well, I mean, I think it ultimately adds up to just 100% total damage because I don't know. So I think AoE is more significant against this hero. Yes, I guess that's a good way to put it. That if you have AoE, you want to take advantage of that against Wild Soul.
Okay, I personally, to keep it short, I think the rework is good. I still have to play it. He seems like he's gonna farm a lot faster than before, because you can proc that swipe spell both on your hero and your bear without any mana cost at all, and he has amplified damage on creeps. Once again, both on his bear and his hero. But I think he might be worse against, he might be worse in late game. I'm not sure. It's really hard to tell. I just feel like he's going to farm faster. But not having the entangle could be a big deal for the hero.
Okay. All right. Znoowy, what is your take on the Wild Soul changes?
It goes as Khezu is saying pretty much. I mean, he's going to be able to farm a lot faster with a double swipe of his, which is, by the way, the same damage as Catman Stomp. It also gives us 75% movement slow for 1 second, so Boobo coming out on top in the end. But yeah, he's going to be able to clear creep stacks in a matter of seconds. But yeah, once again, I mean, the entangle, it's going to hurt his late game presence, seeing as it was going through BKB earlier. And now that it's gone, he might struggle in that kind of sense. But I would still say that he's considerably being buffed by quite a bit, especially as a support player as well. I can just imagine going up versus a Boo level, like when Wildstorm hits level 3, you're going to go up versus a Catman Stomp on his spear. That's not going to be fun if you're Agalicious.
And himself, remember, because again, he gains the abilities of Boo Boo when he's in the ulti form. So he as well could be dishing out the 150 AoE damage, whatever the cooldown. It's a very short cooldown on top of that. So
if I could add something, I think he won't, from now on, he might not just be the sit in the lane and do nothing. I feel like you can easily gank. If you run up to the hero and you double slow him, like, what is he going to do? I feel like you could like use him in team fights and ganks from now, which I just realized.
There's a lot. It is one of these things. Obviously, that is important to note here. You know, we're really just reacting to what we see on paper. Haven't had a whole lot of time to try this out in game. So, as far as whether it's completely different in game, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But maybe we have another podcast a couple of weeks down the line here. But this is simply now as far as theory crafting goes and how it's going to have an impact. Saintrox, what about you? What are your thoughts on this Wildstorm change?
I think not much different than the other two. There's some. I think he got some lifesteal as well.
Yeah.
Just to cream the cake, and I mean that's gonna be pretty strong as well. I'm not. Is it the main hero that gets it, or is it only Boo Boo?
So again, he gets every single Boo Boo ability as long as he's in ulti form. So Boo Boo gets it just with it's called. No, that's not the frenzy. That's the.
That's true. That's the E spell.
Yeah, it's a lifesteal. Natural.
Okay, so.
Okay, so yeah, natural attunement that gives it to Boo Boo, but then again, when you're in ulti form, you get it yourself. So yes.
25% lifesteal late game is pretty legit as well. On top of the armor and just Boo Boo, but as Khezu said, he's probably gonna lose a little bit of the wild soul thing with the loss of Entangle. But I still see him. He's gonna be a little bit more of a brawler hero now. Like he's not gonna be sitting and saving up for a mark, because like this hero can actually do work now from level 6, in my opinion, compared to where he was before. So. I'd say he's definitely gonna be a strong hero. Not a hero you can just leave alone in a jungle and then hope to win the game. I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's safe to say his jungling presence was definitely buffed with this patch too, this rework, because of that swipe ability especially. So.
No, he also deals extra damage to creeps, right? Like the
he does.
alpha male.
He has to be one of the fastest junglers.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, 50% extra damage versus creeps. That's pretty significant. So
he's going to be farming up a storm.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point too. I really am curious to see if that the Mach is still going to be the go-to build, or I don't think it is. I mean,
I read something. I don't know if this went in, but when they were talking about changing this hero, Watzel, it said that Boo Boo wouldn't be able to deal damage at all if he's not within a certain range of Watzel. Which means if you would get Mach and you would try to run someone into their base, it wouldn't deal damage.
Boo Boo can no longer deal any damage to heroes or structures when he's out of range too far from Wild Soul. Interesting.
Rib Mach.
So if that's the case, then yeah, that definitely nerfs the Mach presence a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can only do it if you're actually in a team fight yourself.
Huh.
Yeah, that's not going to be effective.
Where did it say that?
Take it away.
Is that in the patch?
Yeah, it says under Boo Boo under the patch notes. So if you go to Wild Soul, then below him is Boo Boo. It says it right here. Yeah, I'm not showing it on screen, but yeah, it does say it, guys. I promise. So that's a good point, though.
Sure?
Glad you brought that up. Yeah, I believe I'm reading this correctly.
You should be. You should.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, we got to keep this moving here, though. So, yeah, Wild Soul, another one that's going to be interesting. By the way, I really want to stress this, too. These heroes are not in tournament rules right now. They were actually taken out of tournament rules. So, when it comes to competitive Han, they're not going to be eligible just yet. Obviously, you know, with the rework like this, that's understandable. It basically is a new hero in a sense. So, Keeper of the Forest is next here. And this is one that I understand it. It's going to be pretty debatable whether or not this is for the better, whether this is good, or if this is great. I mean, so I'll just pretty much send it to you guys. We'll start with Saintrox here on this one. Keeper, how do you like these changes or no?
All right, so first of all, we decided to completely decimate the hero's suicide ability. Ka-ching! And then I tried to jungle with Keeper. I did not succeed. I think it was like two minutes later on than I used to be. So it could be that I was just doing it wrong. But the thing that the the sentinel thing,
Yeah.
it doesn't aggro creeps, so you have to tank it with your face. And I didn't expect that. That's kind of what made like imagine Warbeast having to tank the creeps with his face and his dogs just doing nothing. Like that's kind of the feeling I was having. A lot more regen is required, and he farms slowly. It's 30 physical damage per second, maybe in less. I wasn't impressed by his jungle ability. So I'd say we could do better, a little bit better.
Yeah. It is 30 physical damage. Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 smaller trees. So obviously that's up in that sense, but yeah, it's 30 for each one.
We destroyed his ability to suicide, and then we nerfed his jungle ability. So we are obviously going to see mid keepers from now on.
But he's still got his ultimate. He's still got his ultimate.
Got his ultimate.
There you go.
There you go. Maybe support keeper.
Znoowy, is support keeper going to be a thing? No. What do you think of these changes?
No, it's not. I tried to jungle with the keeper as well, and I wasn't successful at the first try. But that was simply because I tried to use the second ability, that new tree ability of his. And as Saintrox mentioned, it doesn't aggro the creeps. You have to tank everything by yourself. And it deals 0 damage, like literally 0 damage in level 1. So, however, I found out that the third ability instead, Lifesteal, which has now been added, works just fine. He can take the hard camps from level 1. I'm not sure if it's going to be better than before, maybe around like 250 GPM. But at the same time, I mean, you're going to drop low if you take those kind of camps early game, and with support heroes roaming around in enemy forest, which they are going to do in competitive games, then it's going to be so risky for a keeper to go without his invis, for example, or his keeper minions to scout out for him. And at the same time, if you want to max the lifesteal for jungle ability, then what are you going to do when you hit level 6? I mean, you're not going to be able to push the lane with level 1 in the tree minion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little bit iffy, I feel like. I mean, you have to give up your push ability in order to like farm in the forest with lifesteal. That's my main concern right now, that he's going to be low HP while he's farming in jungle, and he therefore easy pick off, and then he's not going to be able to push too much when he leaves the jungle phase.
Khezu, what has been your reaction to these changes with Keeper?
I've tried him earlier, and I'm trying him right now. I'm honestly not really a big fan of it. I think the way you would have to jungle him right now, because I'm doing it as we speak, you let the thing hit it. When it gets low, you tank, because if it doesn't get hit for like 2 seconds, it just goes full life again. But even if you do this, it's so ridiculously slow. He can't really suicide anymore because he can't pull creeps. He would have to go level 1 invis, and even then, he doesn't have the trees to push. And his jungling is, like, it's first of all, it's way harder, especially for newer players, because they probably don't know that you would have to let the thing go low, then tank yourself, before you just had to dog. I'm trying lifesteal and the thing, and it's super slow. I'm 200 GPM after 2 minutes. And it's really hard. Like, I personally do not like this rework so much.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm playing it wrong. Like, maybe someone can prove us.
Hey, no, it's again from your reaction for what you see on paper. If that's the case, then that's the case, definitely. I noticed that all three of you brought up the point as far as obviously his suicide potential is pretty much gone down, especially because he can't pull anymore. Let's be honest though, is that a bad thing that taking a pull? Because I know that it's just a normal thing in competitive play right now, but is it really a good thing to have the pulling the creep wave? You think as a suicide player, you think that is something that we want to see in the meta? Are you fine with that?
I mean, it's probably, I don't know, in terms of if it's healthy for the game, I think it's debatable whether it's good or not to have. I don't think it's bad to take it out, but maybe you could have given him a suicide potential in another way.
Yeah.
Or maybe buffed his jungling so that like now he's a like really good jungler. But I think both was like tapered down by quite a bit.
Saint?
Yeah, thank you, mister. I just like the thingy, the sentinel, it doesn't attack towers, right? It says something with non-attacking structures, so that means he can't push either. So what the old keeper was? He was a jungler, he was a suicide, he was a pusher. Now he's
a tree.
He's a tree that can jungle a little bit. I'm like I feel like, you know, the reason we're doing reworks on Keeper in the first place was because he was boring, right? Like he was boring. He was just sitting. He was using his minions to pull. He had an ulti. That's it. But he still just has an ulti. That's it. Like I want to see some. I want to. Yeah.
I want to see the
I
wards back, man. I want to go back to the old school days personally.
That was super cancer. Like he blocked the entire map with those
Yeah.
things. But yeah, I think we could do a little bit better.
One other thing that and none of you guys really touched on, I don't think, was that you can actually now use Nature's Veil on towers on top of it here.
Yeah.
So it gives them the extra armor. So there's a little bit more utility there, to be fair. It's not there's something, but it's still a very defensive minded and not the sexiest thing by any means. So
I
think if you compare to what you took away to what you're giving him instead,
yeah.
He's receiving like 10 nerfs for one little buff.
Fair enough.
Keeper's wrecked.
But that is just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Got to get this moving once again, so plenty to talk about here. So let's move on to the next one now. So again, he's not eligible in tournament rules either. Not that it sounds like you guys could care less anyways. That's I wouldn't be seeing him.
It'll
So
be just fine.
Just fine. That's fine. All right. So the last hero that got a fairly significant rework here in the patch, not one we've really seen a whole lot of, but Riptide actually got some pretty significant changes. His ultimate especially, the Eye of the Storm ability. It sounded like you guys were having a little bit of fun with that even before we started here on the podcast. Now, I want to stress that this hero, however, is actually in tournament rules with this rework. So that's going to be interesting to see how that may transition right away. But anyways, point is, again, he's getting significant changes here on 3 of his abilities, including the ultimate. Znoowy, I'll start with you here on this one. What do you think of these Riptide changes?
They look hilarious. It makes them a lot more fun to play, and hopefully even more of a gank option than before. For those who haven't really looked into the hero yet, I can say that your ultimate kind of makes you travel 60% of the map. It's taking some time. Here's more or less flying over hills and trees and all that kind of stuff, but it stacks with movement speed, so you can use Energizer and Ghost Marchers and those kind of items while flying. And I'm just feeling like combine that with Sheepsticks, Hellflowers, and you got yourself like a global ganker more or less if you combine it with the right heroes. So I'm looking forward to see this guy in practice.
Yeah. Saintrox, what about you?
I think it's hilarious to like walk on ice with his ulti. It's great, and you don't have to care about anything. You just like scoot around. It's amazing. Also, a change that's possibly even better. His E ability, like the thing that used to be a passive, he now like puts like a permanent puddle of water somewhere. That makes him super legit. Like usually you could only lane him in mid because that was the only lane that was close to water. Now he can actually be laned on side lanes if you want to. He can like go for team fights in the jungle. If he didn't have his ulti before, that would kind of sucky. I think he could be legit. I'm not sure. I don't think the water slows though, but he still has his wave thingy that slows. So
yeah.
I think he could be possibly viable in competitive because of the extra water effect, and he will almost always get a silence off with his Q now with all the water. So yeah, I think it's a great change, and I'm looking forward to see the ulti in practice as well. Like how much damage is it actually gonna do?
Yeah.
To a team fight.
Khezu, what do you think about this hero?
Okay, about Riptide, I think the best change that you guys made to the hero is that he can spawn water around himself with his E, which doesn't just limit him to the mid lane now. You could run him as a carry, you could run him perhaps even in the suicide lane. Like, you don't just know, obviously, okay, they picked Riptide, he's mid, we don't want to put the hero mid. No. Now it's different, you won't always know. What else was reworked? His W seems a lot stronger now. It deals more damage, has lower cooldown. The only thing that's less is that the water stays less, but therefore you have the E ability. Then the ulti is, I don't know, the ulti is a lot more fun than before, where instead of just making the entire map rain and water, you're like cruising around the map, and whoever you hit, you stun and push. But the only thing I'm not quite sure about is I don't know if, like, let's say there's like a team fight that goes on for half a minute. You won't have enough of the... Like, you can only use the E spell once that summons water around you.
Yeah.
Which is not the biggest radius. And then your W gives you water for 3 seconds. I don't know if there's, like... The old ulti was good and it synergized really well with his skill set. Because the new ulti, I don't know, I don't think it gives any water anywhere other than the use.
That's a good point, actually.
So that's my only concern. I don't know if he's gonna be good in fights that are like in the jungle on more than just one place, like where he has to run from one target to another.
Yeah.
But that's my only concern. Other than that, I think the changes are really great and fun and smart.
Yeah. Yeah, you made a point about the W, I think it is, specifically how, the undertow ability, how it only lasts 3 seconds now, but yeah, you can use it every 10 seconds now on top of it. So it's going to be a lot more of a frequent option here, more consistently, and yeah, you can change, where you're using it and whatnot, rather than having to, where before you would use it and then you kind of be committed to that little area. For a good amount of time. So yeah, that synergy with the new In My Element ability, it's definitely going to be fun. And yeah, the Eye, like I think we all kind of agree, the Eye of the Storm, that's just going to be a mix of a little bit of trollish, but at the same time, it has great capabilities too, and it's definitely a necessary change. It feels more of like an actual ultimate now than that simply what it was before. So, all right, yeah, Riptide is eligible.
One little question.
Yeah.
About the ulti. Can you cancel it with stuns? No, right?
Honestly, I have no clue.
Yeah,
I think you can.
no, it's not going to be
pretty fun.
cancelled, but I think you're going to stand still.
Whoever you charge on, you just charge on him, and they can't do shit about it. If that's the case, that would be pretty funny. I don't know. I like this change.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything about that in the actual description of it, and I can't find anything about, what happens when you're stunned or whatever. So, silences and stuns will not interrupt the channel while moving. So there you go.
I think he's going to be standing still, though. Like, he's going to be affected by the stun, but he's not going to end the channel. He can continue it after the stun duration. Yeah. Also, something that I would like to point out, the third ability that we were talking about, the water pool that you can spawn around you, similar to the Tremble's Mound.
He does not stop moving, by the way.
No, yeah.
He doesn't?
I just stunned him, and he just didn't care.
Still just goes.
Does he take damage?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I assume he takes damage, yeah.
He must take damage. It's not like
he does.
You never know.
I scooted through
Yeah, he does
base.
take damage, but if he gets stunned, he doesn't care. He
He's
keeps
like,
going
whatever. So he has a shrunken head, basically, while he's...
That's pretty
Indeed.
good. But yeah, the third ability, I mean, he can just put it out, and it acts like a mound, but compared to the mound, which can actually be killed, this water pool is not going to be killed. So if you just have it running in the mid lane at level 1, it boosts your attack damage with 15, as well as your attack speed and your move speed. So I feel like that's going to be really damn annoying to deal with.
That's true, yeah, you
One versus one
can't
situations.
deal with it, yeah. You just have to accept it, basically.
So he's like a Deadwood with a Oak Bolt, more or less, in terms of auto-attack damage. It's going to be ridiculously strong.
Yeah, and again, he's eligible in tournament rules, guys, so it's
Right.
possibly could see
I actually think
him.
I think this hero is gonna be picked.
Oh yeah, he's definitely going to be picked, I feel, and whether or not he actually does good in the end, we'll see, but that's definitely a strong possibility here. Okay, so that's really it for the reworks, bigger reworks that happen. Obviously, still plenty of changes happen, but those are the 4 bigger reworked heroes. Again, all the other ones are not in tournament rules for whatever. I'm not even sure why Riptide was let in, but he was, maybe just to throw a little bit of a curveball in there, I guess. But Riptide is let in, and yeah, we'll see how that has an impact here. Now talking about here's now other changes to heroes that, okay, so these are actually, this next kind of tier here are heroes that are now coming into tournament rules. And one of them especially also got some pretty significant changes before he was put into tournament rules here. So we'll start with that one. And I got to say, this one especially, as far as the heroes I'm most looking forward to playing, this is the one on top of my list. I really am looking forward to playing Kane. With these changes that he had, because I was a huge fan of the idea of the hero from the beginning, but it's just no doubt it was just very underwhelming, and that was seen pretty much right off the bat. So Waza, looked it over, and to say the least, did some pretty significant changes. So may have gone over the top. Who knows? We'll see. But That can happen, right? So, but Kane, he got a lot of big changes here. You know, in a sense, kind of a mini rework. So, not necessarily full rework, but getting some pretty good changes, as you can see. The Steel Resolve change is definitely a big one there. Also, the balance for power. It took away basically the negatives and also kind of buffed it on top of that. So, yeah, he's getting some pretty cool changes. Anyways, point is, this is happening, and in tournament rules now. Saintrox, we'll start with you. Saint, what do you think of these changes?
Well, I never really liked the concept in the first place. I'm sorry, Becky.
What?
In my experience, like taking the hit, the tanking is just not. It's always better dealing damage than tanking and on usually. And Kane's first, what you would say, iteration definitely proved me right. He was not that great, but with the new Steel Resolve. I think he's gonna be pretty interesting to match up against an opponent carry. I still don't like that his ulti, like basically everything Kane is his ulti, right? He has a little hook, and that's nice, and then he has some aura stuff. But that's about it. He wanna match up against this hard hitting person on the other side, and as far as I can see, Storm Spirit is going to counter him massively, just like Storm Spirit counters Panda and all the other heroes that never gets picked. Anyway, I would also like to see that the ulti could, like, he gets stunned in his ulti. Like, that's what happens in real fights. Kane gets stunned by the enemy support or frozen by glaciers, and then he does nothing. And I don't know. I would he needs a little bit the extra thing before he gets the thumbs up from me.
Okay.
Okay.
But changes are in the right direction.
That's fair.
I think if this hero gets more direct, like more buffs, the direction I'm taking is leaving the game. So I think this hero is insane.
Yeah.
No. He needs
Snowy, I
more
want to hear
buffs.
your thoughts before I throw mine out there. I want to hear Snowy's thoughts.
Okay, Snowy, what do you got?
I'm probably a little bit in between. I also feel like he's very situational. I feel like a nullstone on a hard carry as well. I mean, he's seeing as he is that counter carry more or less. I feel like, I mean, if the enemy team actually picks up a nullstone, then Kane is no longer going to be able to do the initiation. Unless he picks up a tablet or something, which is just not his type of style. And then the other thing that also bothers me is, where do you lane him? I guess you could do it in the suicide lane or potentially in the mid, but then once again it comes back, do you really want Kane as your main initiator? So yeah, if teams can actually work around it and build a nice synergy, maybe with a push lineup with Ophelia, early Astro and all that kind of stuff, I feel like his defensive aura could help out big time. But yeah, I'm still very questionable about the hero.
Okay, so kind of in between there. So, Khezu, you're on the other side of the spectrum. You just think this is
I'm
really
gonna drop a bomb here. Okay.
Okay, drop that bomb. Let's go.
I'm in practice mode right now. I'm against a Dark Lady. I'm Kane. If I ulti him, and he has normal items that he would have, he has one item right now, a Savage Mace. I ulti him. He takes. Okay, so shut up. Let's just say he has a Savage Mace. I ulti him, and we're both over 25. I lose 10%. He loses 90%. Okay. Let's say they pick up Storm Spirits. Even if they do, for 5.5 seconds, their carry hits a Kane without dealing damage, while he still takes damage. Are you telling me they're gonna have 2 Storm Spirits and then double Storm Spirit to carry? Okay.
And a sheepstick.
Even then, Kane is taking out their hard carry, and like making them use all their spells to just save the carry, while he's losing
hard
damage.
carry has a Savage Mace.
Okay. Are you gonna tell me TDL won't have items if he goes against the Kane?
No, I mean, 5.5 seconds, that's a long time. I get what you're saying, but
Yes.
as Znoowy pointed out as well, like, Nullstone is going to be pretty,
Okay.
like...
Let's say you know that they're gonna pick a Silhouette or a Dark Lady, or let's say you pick Kane. Why don't you just pick a Flux or Thunderbringer or like a global Nullstone taker? Boom.
Okay,
as he says, I'm going, the hero presses R, oh, Nullstone gone. GG.
Right, but
Your
what
strategy
about
is done.
Glacius? What about Glacius? Like, if Glacius freezes Kane, he's not going to deal damage, right? He doesn't auto attack. He's
but
just tanking.
The fact still stands that you're taking out the hard carry for 5.5 seconds.
Yeah.
You don't need to kill him.
He's
okay,
an
one step back.
anti-carry for sure. What's up?
Yeah, no, let me ask you, where would you run him during the
That's
lane
what I'm
phase?
curious. Yeah, because he's not a carry, obviously. So short lane farm doesn't make the most sense. You can't jungle with him. Suicide, is that really?
I think he's a good one-on-one lane. I think you could put him mid, maybe bottom if you want to gank. I'm not sure about long lane.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like, cause I didn't know. I thought the armor part would go away, but he still gets armor from his aura on top of the HP regen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that was gone. And okay. You guys are only talking about the ult. You need to realize that his armor gives 8, his W, it gives 5 AoE armor, 4% HP regen, and his ulti makes your entire team crit for 1.5 times
What, ulti?
with a 40%.
His
Sorry, his
offensive aura. Yeah.
Oh,
He has
yeah,
an
yeah,
offensive
sorry.
aura that gives them 40% chance to crit for 1.5 times.
And it's only 2-second cooldown now at all levels, so, and you can be switching between the two, you know, depending on the situation. A lot more freedom early on in the game, especially. So, yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, for good reason, the face-off ability is yes, ultimately that's a big part of him. But exactly, the balance of power, the skill resolve, the synergy of it all is what really brings this hero together, I think. So.
I would be really surprised if this hero is not picked up a lot in the future in comp games when he goes in at least.
It does come down to where do you lane him though. Again, like you said, you think he has great solo potential, so it sounds like middle's really like your only option then, which it's not out of the question, but it's is that are you willing to do that basically?
Second support, I'm not sure. You could run him in push lineups as like a second support with the auras, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. People will have to try and figure this one out because I think this hero, if you know where to put him and when to put him, he'll be really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't you normally like able to also target your Q spell? Because you can't do that
No.
anymore. Now it's just
the direction you face.
Yeah.
It's whatever direction. Yeah.
It's the same now than it was before.
Yeah. The pole. But speaking of that too, I will say the radius on that's very tiny. Like it's just like very. So you better make sure that you're in the right direction when you go, because that happens to me a lot. But I suck. So
I could see him being a really awesome mid laner if he had a little bit longer range on his Q. That way he could like. Right now I think he's gonna have a tough time against like what do we lane like Flux and support, like that's gonna hit hard, and he's not really gonna like, you don't really want Flux close to you most part of the game, so
but
I'm not sure.
It sounds like though he's one of these heroes where you don't need a lot of farm on him either. Levels is just the most important thing. So as long as you're getting the levels, then you're accomplishing.
Yeah, I think the aura is the big main factor here.
Yeah, the 5 armor, that's ridiculous.
5 armor is a lot, actually.
That's
with
just always
on a field lineup or something like that, he's going to be insane. Yeah. It does give creeps bonuses as well, right?
Now, granted, I'll say this, that, the 5 armor is good, but to be honest, I see a lot of Kane sitting in the offensive stance where you don't get the armor. Instead, you get the crit, which is obviously also very beneficial, but you don't get both. So it is one or the other. So you got to keep that in mind, too. But, yeah. Anyways, I think this guy has potential. And again, he's getting added into tournament rules, so with these changes here. Keep it moving. We'll kind of group these next two together because, again, they're not necessarily getting any changes, but more so they're being added to tournament rules as well. So Calamity and Tarot are the heroes that I'm talking about here. So they did get kind of minor changes, to be fair. I'll let it put it on the graphic. But Calamity and Tarot both coming into tournament rules. Calamity, actually, the cooldown of her Dragon's Path was slightly increased from 2.5 seconds to 3 seconds. So the dragon's flying around there. If you want to, change the path of it, it will take a little bit longer now. But that's not the end of the world necessarily. And Tarot, just to clarify, she didn't get any changes herself. So, but they're both going into tournament rules here. We'll start with Znoowy on this one. Znoowy, what do you think about these heroes going into tournament rules? These two.
If I were to start with Calamity, I think she's a very interesting one. That has she has a different kind of skill set for carry heroes. She actually offers a lockdown, and I don't think there's any other carry currently in the game that offers that. It might be Chronos, but that's still a little bit different. So early aggression, for example, if dealing with tower dives, that ultimate of hers is just going to be supreme, I think. She might still be a little bit situational. You might not want to draft her versus escape heavy heroes like Bubbles, Magnus, who can get out of that ultimate. But in typical, for example, push lineups, I feel like she can be really strong because usually the team is, grouped up with Astro and all that kind of stuff, grouped up together. And then having this kind of lockdown AoE ability in level 6 before even PKs are in the game. Then I think that it can be deadly. And you can also use the ultimate to lock people out from the team fight. You don't necessarily have to lock them inside of it. You can actually use it as an empath wall, just keep people out for several amount of seconds. And I think she got a little bit of a niche. However, I'm not too sure how strong she fares in 1 versus 1s. If she's up versus a suicide hero, that second ability of hers, if you want to level that, which I assume you want, then you're going to push the lane at the same time and give your suicide or give the opponent suicide hero some levels. So you need to be a bit careful at the same time. But potential, yeah.
Saintrox, what about you? These two heroes.
Did Znoowy only talk about
Calamity?
Calamity?
Well, yeah, let's start with Calamity. Yeah, let's talk about Calamity.
Yeah, isn't that better?
Him, yeah.
I thought it was better to leave them separated.
All right, okay, we can do that. Okay, so Calamity, I've seen kind of both sides of her. Mainly on my team, she sucks and gets killed a lot. On their team, she is like a wrecking ball that just dominates every team fight with her ulti, and like dragons and everything. But I'm not sure if I would pick Calamity over Clanks when it comes to like Calamity is pretty squishy. As one of those squishy Aki carries that she does have a good team fight ulti sorta. I'm not sure about her Q spell, how much it actually does. It doesn't feel like it's that big, but she has a pretty strong lane presence with her dragons. I guess it's gonna be fun to see a new hero, but I'm not sure if she's gonna be strong enough to be swapped into rotation over the standard Dr. Repulser or Shiftblade, who also got a little bit nerfed, but. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see, at least.
Khezu, is this something you can see Sync possibly running as a carry, or even something else, or what's it do with Calamity?
I don't know. I think this hero is an interesting one. I'm personally not sure. I don't like the hero skill set too much. I feel like the only really useful spell she has is her ultimate. And I believe you can tablet out of it as well. I only played against her a couple times, and I've played her once myself. I did not like the feel of the hero. I felt like if you were ever exposed just by one little bit, you will instantly die. The hero has very bad strength gain and very low move speed. And she doesn't really okay, so the dragons are like her farming tool, sort of. But I don't know if it's quick enough. I personally don't think the hero is too good. I think she would mostly be run with like AoE combos, like a Flux perhaps, that will pull them like into the ult, into the middle.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I personally, right now, just think she's very good in lane, and then you would have to build a lineup around her for her to work.
Okay. So, that's Calamity there. Yeah, the thing with Calamity for me, too, is that is she really the strongest carry option compared to a lot of others? And, probably not. And could she maybe be a mid instead? That's something, but we're in a kind of a dual carry lineup. But, yeah, I agree with you as far as her skill set. It just doesn't. It seems a little underwhelming. As strong as the ultimate can be, yeah, the tablets, Dr. Repulser flying out of it, Clanks being able to fly over it, things like that. So, there you go. Tarot's the other one. Tarot's the other one here that's also kind of interesting to bring up. Now, when it comes to carry, she has an ability to carry pretty hard in the late game because of her ultimate. Now, will she get there? How do you get there in the first place? Different story, sure, but is Tarot a carry that we could possibly see? Well, we'll kind of snake this. We'll start with you, Khezu, on this one.
I think Tarot's a very interesting hero as well. Sort of like I think Calamity is interesting too, but she's not as strong. What I like about Tarot is that she's a carry, but I think you're rewarded for being in kills with your ultimate, because then it gives you a higher chance on critting. If I got it correct. Is that wrong? All right.
Yeah. She gets.
I don't know if you have to be. I don't know if you have to be involved in the kill or in a certain amount of range.
I think it's just the range. Yeah.
I think that's first of all interesting about the hero, and also that card spell. It's really hard to lane against that hero. It doesn't matter where you're laning, if it's mid, short lane, or long lane. That spell will most likely zone you out of the lane. Also, in teamfights, if you use it correctly, you could like put it on a support and hit the carry, and you would kill their support as you're hitting the carry at the same time. And I think overall the hero, the only downside she has, like many other carries, is that if you catch her, she should die to a coordinated team.
Yeah.
But I think if you have like the backup for her, and the player knows how to position himself in teamfights, she can output some crazy amount of damage. I personally think the hero will see some play.
All right, so Saintrox, back to you, Tarot.
Same thing as with Calamity. She's kind of squishy. Except this person hero deals even more damage, and the card, the minus 50% armor.
Yeah.
That's intense throughout the game. Like if you're a madman who's like usually we see madmen in suicide lanes, and he's having a great time because he can stalk away and stuff.
Not so
he
much.
can't anymore. He's not having a great time against Tarot. And also, it's news to me that she's pronounced Tarot and not Tarot. I
think the T's silent at the end.
Yeah, I figured actually there was some French stuff going on there. But anyway, I think the hero is going to be viable, but it's sort of like the same as with a hero like MOA, at least in my experience. He and she, both of them, need some like a Rhapsody or something to heal them or sit behind them in team fights. Because if they get caught, or an Andrew for that matter, if they get caught, they're most likely going to be dead. But I think she deals enough damage to be viable.
Oh yeah, again, she has the potential to be one of the harder hitters in the game because of that ultimate.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Znoowy, what about you? What do you think of Tarot?
I think that she got way more potential than a Calamity when it comes to actually carrying the game. It's one of the high-risk carries, more or less. She doesn't have the escape, so if you pull through to the later stages of the game, then she's going to come out successful. But the risk that you can actually make that happen is like far too low, I feel, at this point, seeing as the meta is so stun-heavy, and she's just so squishy with no escape mechanism. It just doesn't seem like it's going to work out too well. I know for a fact that Nullstone Gaming has actually been playing this quite a lot, especially Beaver Banger in team matchmaking, and that he's a big fan of the hero. But in general, like, I still feel like it's limited a little bit to team matchmaking. We saw MMR also earlier on Slap stream today. I think it was MMR versus HBX actually running the Tarot in a
scrim. Were they running her? Okay.
Yeah, in the safe lane, and she managed to pull through, rally successfully, like 450 DPM or something like that. But still, I mean, yes, I know that the crit is going to be like, hitting you big time in late game, but I mean, you still need to be close to kills at all time, and it just doesn't make too much sense. I feel that you need to seek up the team fights with this hero that doesn't have any escape. So I'm still gonna say that it's not going to be as successful as a Clanks or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a glass cannon hero that does not have the escape, and that's always a scary thing. Soul Stealer's another hero like that comes to mind, but he has the initiation, the idea you want to get the portal key. Some cases, be able to jump in, get that big ultimate. Has team fight aspects to it, and also that flash farm. Where Tarot, yeah, she's just all about the right click, ultimately. So I could see the anti-invis option, though. You're right, against a hero like a Madman, a Keeper, like we'll ever see him. Any other Invis heroes that with the Far Scry, I guess is what it's called, the W. And yeah, it is a lot of minus armor, so I would be intrigued to see if this is a hero that pops up here, but it would be a greedy pick, no doubt. So, but yeah, Calamity and Tarot, also a couple more heroes that are coming into tournament rules, and didn't have necessarily really any changes this patch, but that's gonna be fun to see if they do have impact once again. So, moving down the list. Now we're in the part of the list where it's more heroes that we have seen quite a bit now. They've been in tournament roles and getting some interesting changes. A couple that were worth noting here, I think. One that was brought up, Dr. Repulser. Actually, he's let's just say played quite a bit on the competitive scene. So he got touched up slightly. This is nothing over the top, nothing like any ability changes, but his attack range was lowered from 500 to 450. Now, again, in the average eye here, as far as seeing this, it'd be like, oh, well, that's nothing. Well, it's a little more than nothing. It is something. So I want to get you guys a chance to maybe not only say what you think about it, but how significant do you think this is? So, Khezu, we'll start with you again.
Okay, personally, I don't know if they wanted to nerf him, as they did, I don't know if nerfing his attack range is the way I would like to see. I would have liked it more if they toned down one of his abilities a bit more, or maybe like nerf his armor, nerf his attack damage by like a couple. I don't know how much I think this will mostly affect him in like the laning phase against range heroes. He will still dominate melee heroes really hard. Range heroes not so much, especially if you know how to play around with heroes range. Like let's say you're like a 600 range hero against Doctor who's now 450 instead of 500. It actually makes quite a big deal if you know how to abuse the fact that he does have 50 less range now. But I personally would have liked to seen him nerfed in a different route. And in the first place, I think he's very strong, but I don't know if he actually needed a nerf. Like, I'm not against one, but a small one like this, I would say, is okay.
Okay. Znoowy, what do you think?
I actually tend to, or at first, like just like you said, I was a little bit against attack range, but it was the same thing with Silhouette when he nerfed her attack range back in the days. Then I was like against that too, but then it actually felt like, okay, this actually makes sense when I saw it in practice. And we have seen Dr. Repulser being running like dual lanes in mid even or in tri lanes, and I feel like this attack range nerf is actually going to make her more towards that safe lane carry once again. Instead of in the dual lanes. So I'm actually, I prefer, or I like this change. But it's still going to be impossible for melee heroes to last hit versus her. Because of that Q spell of hers, 140 magic damage in level 1 for the cost of 70 mana. And you can compare that like to a Hammerstorm stun, for example, that only deals 100 damage. So it's 40 plus damage for Dr. Repulser's Q. So keeping that in level 1 just gives you, or prevents any melee heroes from just last hitting. And I would have loved for them to scale that a little bit better in that case. Maybe instead of giving it plus 40 magic damage for every level, maybe start it off a little bit slower or lower. But at the same time, then she can't go into the forest, and that's an option that some teams like Solar Club has been practicing or playing around with a lot as well. So it's difficult, but I still feel like this was a healthy change for a Doctor and to like make her more of that 1 versus 1 hero rather than a tri-lane / dual lane hero.
Okay. Saintrox, you think this is a good change here or not?
I think it's more important to point out that Znoowy has been calling Doctor a she the entire time, and I'm really confused. Do you know something I don't know?
I think it's a he, but...
Isn't Doctor a male? Does he have a female skin?
It's an alien. Who knows, really? I mean, it could be both, for all we know, so...
I guess. Okay, fair enough. No discrimination, I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Anyway, the Doctor nerf, as Khezu said, it's not gonna be. It's a minor thing, but it can prove to be pretty decent if like in the 1v1 lanes where Doctor's matched up against something with 600 range. But on that, he's gonna probably be played the same. He's probably gonna be picked just as much. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. It's okay. But another route of nerfing him, maybe giving a slight less auto attack damage, like 5 less. I think that would be super sweet. So you can actually go up against him with the bubbles and have fun. But I don't know. I haven't seen it in practice, but I think it's okay. I think you can justify it, definitely.
Yeah. It sounds like you're all in agreement that really the laning phase, if anything, is where this hero kind of needed a nerf. And obviously this does address that at least slightly. So,
yeah.
But yeah, perhaps a little bit more needed. But, hey, it is a start.
Versus melee heroes, at least, I would say.
Yeah.
It gives her the positive, or it lowers the synergy between her Q and the passive at least. So she can't last hit at the same time as she is harassing at least.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't think that a semi carry / hard carry should actually be able to do versus or during the laning phase. It's a little bit too strong.
Okay. All right, but again, Dr. Repulser, I guess the ultimate point is too, still expect to see him picked up. Is what it comes down to. I think his skill set just a little too strong.
Oh, yeah.
That ludicrous speed and a good secondary carry option even, as well as even the main carrying in a lot of cases. So, yeah. Probably still going to see plenty of it. But, yeah, it is a nerf nonetheless. So, how big of one, we'll have to wait and see over the coming weeks here. Keeping it moving, another hero that actually we've been seeing a little bit lately. Sync, sure enough, you guys have been picking it up a couple times here, and a couple other teams have been drawing attention to this hero. And hey, it just so happens he's getting a nice buff here in this patch on top of that. So Moraxus, of course, who I'm talking about, both his Arcane Shield and his Moraxus ability getting buffs. He now actually has the ability to root people with his E here, so that's interesting. And then Arcane Shield, slightly more powerful across the board. So
Can I start?
well, sure. We'll start with you, Casey. You're answer to do it. What do you think?
I think this change is ridiculous, and I told them, well, we were in the bounce call, and he asked us, "Do you guys think this is too much?" We all said yes. But then when the patches were confirmed, I read every single line, and it's the same as when they asked us, and I'm like,
Oh.
what? And all of a sudden, he was like, okay, you guys said it was too much, but I put it in anyway. So I think this hero is going to be insane.
Yeah.
Like, you either need really good coordination to bypass the buffs he's getting right now by getting his shield buffed by, like, 400%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, either you need to instantly lock him down and then make sure you kill him, because I'm pretty sure if you screw up now, an early gank against this hero, he's going to turn around with haste and double damage and just kill you. Because that's literally what his shield does. It puts him on haste and gives him sort of a double damage run.
Yeah, 120 up to 120 at level 4. So
I
I can
think
see
this
your
is
concerns.
too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the hero. I don't think it's bad for the hero to be in the game because he's like fun. He does a lot. He's versatile and stuff. But I think he's a little bit too strong.
Yeah. Okay, so he thinks it's really strong. Saintrox, what do you think?
As I wrote to you guys in Skype the other day, Moraxus is already picked up a little bit here in response to the Mora ganks coming out. His Arcane Shield is really good against the stun. And just, like, he's going to be so strong now. I think he's going to be like a regular mid lane hero from now on. Just because he also solos really well against basically anything. So yeah, I think he's gonna be. I'm not sure if he's gonna be over the top too strong, but he's definitely very, very strong now. And he could very easily be OP. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm tilting toward what Khezu was saying.
I think he's going to be on top of the list now as far as initiators go. There's a good reason to believe that. Znoowy, what do you think?
Before I start talking, I just want to make sure that I'm going to make clear that I'm gonna tell or the third ability I'm gonna call it Axis instead of Moraxus to avoid confusion. Because that name is a struggle.
The name's ridiculous and dumb. So.
No, but I got
I agree with you.
I got one thing to say, and that is Ghost Marchers. Like, I can really see the Ghost Marchers. Before it was like Steam Boots all the time on this hero, but now when this new increased duration of the Arcane Shield, as well as if you hit 4 axes in a row on the same target, you're gonna immobilize them for 1.5 seconds. It just screams Ghost Marchers. First item, just rush onto the support heroes. There's nothing they can do. They're so dependent on their single target stuns like Comet, Andromeda, Staccato, Rhapsody. So you just get that Arcane Shield up and then just hit them with your axes. And for those who don't know how the Moraxus, or I made a mistake already. The Axis ability works. It starts in level 1 with a maximum of 1 axe, and then when you level it up, you get 1 more maximum axe for each level. So as soon as you hit level 5 on the Moraxus, you're gonna have the axes in level 3, and then they replenish every 5 seconds. So if you hit the Quake Stun on someone, that's 2 free axes. And then you just need 2 more, and during the period of time you're going to have the Arcane Shield up, so it's like pretty much a free immobolize if you get an item like Ghost Marchers. I don't know, this hero is going to be top tier picked every single game, I feel. It already had a place in the competitive scene as the tanky initiation, and now they kind of add him as like a train in a way that you just can't stop. So I'm looking forward to it. I would love for Sync to actually, or to us see it in the series today, because it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. It would not surprise me if this is one we see today, because, hey, as you pointed out, we're talking about it. This is a hero we already see, actually, every now and then. And now knowing that he's just getting buffs in a couple places that are just going to be that much more powerful, why not, right? So, yeah, I can see why. There's a little bit of concern, perhaps, is this a little too much? But, hey, that is part of it. That is part of it. So, Moraxus getting some nice little buffs right there. Okay, so another pretty debatable one here, and this is one that's I know of good controversy. Let me pull it up here, and not tarot. It would be Veiled Rot. The item Veiled Rot. Now, this has obviously been in the scene now for a little bit. We do see several teams really taking advantage of it. We see it used still quite a bit. It took a couple of hits here, but it also got a buff at the same time. Can now be purchased from the observatory. And however it works in stacks, now you gain 1 stack every 3 minutes, a maximum of 5 stack. You start the game with 3 stacks in the shop. So all these changes here kind of come in place, making a point that I guess you can't just constantly be using it over and over again is the ultimate goal here in like a 5-player gank. Saintrox, we'll start with you on this one.
Well, I think all of the competitors were being really cautious with this item when it first came to Han, because I mean, it has so big impact in Dota. But now that we've had it in Han for I don't know how long, but definitely a couple of months now, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a deal. I'm not sure. Like Khezu is the one that's actually playing competitively, but from me as a spectator, I usually I see the BMG everyone just rotting up and then running around, and like it's like a 50-50 if they catch something, usually. And maybe the nerf is going to be a bit too much. I think we were trying to nerf it before we really knew how extensive it was going to be. So I don't really have a strong opinion about it. I think Veiled Rot might not be as impressive as we made it out to be initially.
Okay, Znoowy, what do you think of Veiled Rot?
I'm just gonna break it down. I think that Veiled Rot got big time buffed in this patch. The fact that you can buy it from the observatory now is gonna be crazy. I mean, that's not just the defensive observatory, but that's the offensive observatory as well. So you can pretty much pick it up at every single location in the map. Before it was like, okay, the enemy team is back in their base. There might be a smoke gank following, so be careful. But now it's like, okay, they're at the outpost. They're farming the actions. They're doing Kongor. Be careful. It's going to be a smoke gank following. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit too, I don't know if it's too healthy for the game that like you can expect the smoke gank pretty much at all times. Before it was still very limited because you could keep track of the inventory of people, and you knew for a fact that they would more or less have to return to base before they can actually, go for that smoke gank. So I'm not necessarily too much of a fan of it. And the stacks as well, we have been, as we're saying that's a little bit of a nerf, but I don't necessarily agree. I don't think that's going to make a change. You got 5 stacks a total. It starts with 3 and then it adds up for 1 every 3 minutes, I think it is.
Yeah.
So at the 30-minute mark, that's going to be 13 Veiled Rot available.
It doesn't go above 5.
It doesn't. It maxes
I
at
know.
5, yeah.
But you can if you want to. I mean, usually you're going to have one in your inventory. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure that the countdown is still going to increase to that 5 as long as you have you can have 10 in your inventory.
Okay, that's
you're
true.
still going to have 5 in the base. So I don't think that's going to matter at all. I think we're still going to see those 5-man ganks. You can just have it on the courier as well. I'm not sure if that works. Like just buy it on the courier and then save it up there. It should be like a global cooldown, I feel. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like that stack is not going to do anything.
Huh.
And this, I love the item in general. I don't love the way it breaks though. I feel like it should be ranged indicator instead of like the vision indicator. That's a little bit stupid, especially for those 5-man ganks. If you're lucky enough to find a hard carry, for example, that might determine the game in the late game. And I don't like that from a competitive perspective. But I still think that this gives another dimension to the support heroes, and it just excels in the early game. Before, the opponent's hard carry could just sit in its safe lane and farm, and you couldn't do anything about it unless you grouped up and pushed. But now, as soon as your Suicide hits level 6, you can just as a support, get a Veiled Rot, go down there, try to go for a gank attempt. So I just love to see this guy in the items. Like, it gives you a high entertainment value, and it's just, for supports, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, spectator, I mean, I like seeing it, but I understand a competitor, different story perhaps. But Khezu, you've played against this plenty. You guys use it yourself. I mean, what do you think of the change?
I agree, but mostly disagree with what you guys are saying. I think the only buff the item is getting is that you can buy it from the observatory. I don't think it's the biggest deal. Like, it does help, yes, with your rotation and movement. But you could also sneakily send it to you with the courier, and it would do the same thing. It's just easier now. The thing with the stocks, it's a nerf because right now you could go for 1 million smoke gangs and you would still not feel safe. Right now, if they go for a 5-man smoke gang, you know that at least for a certain amount of time, it can't happen anymore because they don't have any left. Unless they're saving them for like 20 minutes straight ahead.
Yeah.
Then they can go for another one. But like, I think literally right now, there is no logical reason to not have a smoke at all times. Because if they don't see you, that 100 gold is well spent even if you don't get a kill. Because most likely they're scared and don't farm themselves. I think the change is good, and I know that we were a big reason as to why. I don't think you should be constantly scared of an item that costs 100 gold. And on top of that, I agree with the way it breaks. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't think it should be based on seeing your opponent. I think it should be based on how close the opponent actually is to you, whether you see him or not.
Yeah, that has made for some funky interactions. We've noticed that that perhaps more of the, actually, as you're saying, more of the radius would solve a lot of those issues. But yeah, so at this point, it's still a matter of if you see them and they see you, vice versa there. So very interesting, though. Seems like definitely different sides of the spectrums there as far as how you view the item in general, but also with these changes. But yeah, no doubt. I love what Znoowy was bringing up, though, about the courier, and you can just save it up. Like I wonder if there really are precautions being taken for that, if that's just simply something that you thought about right there, and
so.
I don't know if Waza, maybe, I mean, I'm sure he did, but that's interesting to point out, and I can see it as a strategy, definitely, to kind of go around the maximum of 5 stacks that you can have, so we'll see. We'll see more Veldrot, I'm sure, and whether you see more of it, less of it, or just the same, or who knows, who knows. Okay, so that's Veldrot there. Next one on the list, another item actually happens to be, we're going to near the end here as far as a lot of these bigger changes, but Merrick's Bounty. This is the new item coming into Heroes of New Earth with patch 3.7, and obviously a very interesting one to say the least. Pretty much a gold gainer here. The idea that you pick this item up in your inventory, it gains charges, being in the vicinity of creep kills, and then when you use it, you actually get gold based on how many charges you have. I think it's 10 gold for every charge. And then when you use it, it goes on a 30-second cooldown. But basically, the idea is that you ultimately will ideally be able to farm a little bit more. Support heroes specifically is where you would think this would shine on and almost even be a priority, perhaps. But we'll see what you guys think. Saintrox, let's start with you on this one. What do you think about Merrick's Bounty?
I'm not entirely sure. It feels like supports usually like take a creep kill here and there when they can get to it. Like, as far as I can understand, this item is only really good, like, or it's best if you just stay away from creep kills. Like, and just stay in your jungle and I don't know, stack and maybe go for some ganks. I don't think it's gonna do that much, to be honest, but maybe like Fusen and TPS Priceless are gonna have a great time with it. But I don't think the way that people, I don't think you're supposed to play support like that, in my opinion. I think support should be a little bit more greedy. They should get some items. So in that sense, Merrick's Bounty is not really gonna be an item that supports at least a strat that I would want to see on my support. But I mean, it gives some diversity to the game, I suppose. So it's okay. I'm not sure when they're going to be picking up. It's still 250 gold. Are they going to get it before boots? Probably not. Are they going to get it after boots? Probably. But then it's gonna. I mean, it's also going to be a matter of them saving up a little bit of money for that. So I'm not sure. I'm not convinced about this item. I think it might not be picked up at all. There's a chance, but yeah.
Okay, Znoowy, what about you on Merrick's Bounty?
I'm still waiting to see it in practice. It's kind of hard to say for sure, but I mean, if you pick it up as soon as the game starts, and then you get one creep kill on the lane, then you have more or less already gained like 100 gold or something, because the time that has lasted, there's like 1.5 minutes before the game starts, or 1 minute at least. So I'm thinking about just picking it up as a first item more or less and just play greedy. But in general, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too cheap. I don't want it to be one of those items that you kind of have to get as a support just to keep up in gold per minute with other supports when it comes to warding and all that kind of stuff. And I also feel like everyone or the supports already have like been buffed in a certain kind of way the last few patches. I mean, Dust of Revelation, for example, it's a great tool for support heroes to aid the team revealing heroes, as well as the Veiled Rot now. It gives another dimension, and I feel like it's going to be so difficult to choose between those like small cost items now as a support, because you only got 6 slots. Thank God there was one new one introduced for the War of Sides. I love that, by the way. But I mean, you're going to have the boots, you're going to have the teleport, Word of Revelation, Dust, and as we mentioned, there's really no reason to not pick up Veiled Rot at all times. So you have that one as well. That's 5 slots.
Yeah.
At like the 10-minute mark as a support. And then you need to have, or then you can choose between like a Mana Battery, a Lex Talionis, Iron Stone, or Merrick's Bounty. That's like it. Then you have to solve between the items, like which one should I prefer. And I'm not sure if that's too healthy in that way. So I would rather see that Merrick's Bounty. Sure, I agree. I mean, that could be cool future for supports. I love to see supports maybe interacting and get some items, but maybe for a higher cost, and they're also like increase the reward for it, like 500 gold maybe, and give yourself maybe 12 gold for each 10 seconds or something instead. So it doesn't make like ain't feel forced to pick this item up as a support.
Okay. It is worth noting, too, you can purchase it from the Outpost as well. They actually put it in the Outpost. They actually replaced it with Blessed Orb. Go figure. Blessed Orb no longer in the Outpost. That's kind of a thing in itself. But anyways, so you can get it in the Outpost as well. So another option, yeah, if you go into the lane, you don't have to have it fly out to you, whatever. You can actually just pick it up right there if you want to get it initially in the laning phase after the beginning. Anyways, Khezu, really curious what you think on this one here.
I think whether or not you like this item is very biased on how you view the game, like your perspective of the game. Do you think a support should not touch creeps at all? Then you probably will like this item. I personally think it's otherwise. I don't think support should have 0 creeps. Like, just, I don't know, I feel like some people just view the game wrong, and this is just my perspective. As I said, I think you can have many perspectives, whether or not this item is good or bad or healthy or not. I personally think that this item promotes wrong gameplay for the support role, that you are not supposed to touch creeps at all. Just wait, be the stacking whore for your team and just like do that stuff, and then you touch one creep and okay, you're done for your next 10 minutes. You go back to stacking and like that's being like the other people's slave. So I personally don't like the item. It's probably like healthy for the public scene. Like maybe it makes lower team M games more enjoyable because they know, oh, I can like get farm if I just get this item and stack. So I can see it promote gameplay in the like lower games. I'm not quite sure how the item will turn out exactly, whether it's going to be bought in comp games or not. I think we'll see it every now and then on one of these supports, but I personally think that this item promotes wrong gameplay, but that's my opinion.
Hey, it is your opinion, and it's a very interesting one at that, as expected. Now, what I'm really curious about from you guys is, it sounds like we're all on the same page, main support. This is a main support item. Is it just a main support item? I mean, I know the possibility of a suicide hero, a secondary, a jungler, a carry. Is this something that you could see in situations like that, or is this just main support?
I don't think it's just main support. I think you can buy it on like very roam heavy heroes. Like let's say we see Behemoth Suicide a lot, and oftentimes he doesn't really lane. He tries to gank his mid and short lane, try to help his teams because he can't lane in the bottom lane. So I think stuff like that could work on roaming heroes that just can't lane. Like they actually can't touch the creeps because of how the game is going. Not because they don't want to, but because they actually can't. I think it could work on heroes like that, like heavy roamers that just help their team take a creep. And maybe later on they can get creeps normally, but I think that would be the second option apart from second support or hard supporting.
Okay.
I don't see it viable on carries. It just doesn't.
The inventory spot is the biggest deterrent there, I think, if anything. So.
Well, you want to kill creeps all the time as a carry. You don't want to not kill.
That's true.
I would also like to point out it's always rewarding to get a creep kill, no matter what situation, isn't it? Like, because you can only get, I mean, the charge resets at 30 seconds, so that's a maximum of 30 gold. But from getting one creep kill, you get like 40 gold or something. So no matter what situation, you're always going to want to get creep kills.
Yeah.
It also
So, I
depends
don't think
if
it's-
anyone is close by or not. Also, I believe the item goes on cooldown for 30 seconds.
It does. It goes on cooldown for 30 seconds whenever it... So if you kill a non-hero... So whenever you kill a creep, basically, yeah. It goes on cooldown for 30 seconds, so... And it consumes
But
those
if no one is
charges.
around, yeah, then you still want to take the creep kill, so to say. So it's not like you're going to avoid farming.
Yeah.
It's still going to be efficient, and therefore I feel like it's mostly going to be a support. But I don't know. Maybe yeah, suicide options. I don't know.
Saintrox, anything further with that, or?
I don't know. I'm gonna group up about the play style that it kind of dictates. I'm not a big fan of it. As Snoo just said, like, are you gonna make 10 gold on it if you take creeps? Is that what it like? Because it goes 30 second on cooldown and you get 40 gold from a creep. So
Yeah.
you miss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you make 10 gold, but I'm not sure if it's.
That's one creep
it's gonna-
only.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can
Mm.
farm 2 creeps, then you have gained 50 gold. So
Well, people were whispering me in game that it was super worth it and I should buy it. So
Well,
I'm not sure. Maybe
It's...
they were biased.
This
but,
is one of those items. It's going to take time to see. Like it's the one thing on paper, but you have to really practice with it. You have to try it, and so yeah, I see that. So, but I will say that Waza throughout testing, he made the point when he came out to leak this item coming out that I think through testing through SPT, they got a conclusion that it increases your GPM by 30 to maybe 40 gold per minute. In the long run throughout the game. I mean, for a support hero, that's a fairly good amount of gold, really. So, and that's just taking up an inventory spot. So it's going to be interesting to see in practice how it
But
develops.
that's, I mean, sure, but how would they? I'm more interested in how were they playing the support? Like, were they farming? Like,
Yeah,
were they
I don't
taking
know.
the creeps when they could, or were they
Yeah.
just like sitting doing nothing? Because
Like Khezu was saying,
Oh, well.
is that really better for the game? I mean, should they be played that way? Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point too. So, but yeah, no, that's coming in, and I believe I haven't been told otherwise, and it doesn't say anything that it should be in tournament roles. I don't see why it wouldn't, honestly.
I believe it is.
I believe it is.
It should
yeah.
be.
So hey, that could be something right away, even again later on today.
a guy has just whispered me that Ophelia can last hit with creeps, and then she won't lose money. Is that legit?
Really?
Am I getting trolled? Because
Right.
if that's
Well-
true, then Ophelia and Tempest and not
See,
Keeper, but the junglers are going to be
junglers
li-
in
like
general,
this.
then yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
we buffed the jungle.
We buff the jungle
Oh
boys.
my
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I have no idea if that's true. or
That
not.
well, honestly, it
so.
makes it kind of because the description on it says when you kill an enemy non-hero unit. So that's not obviously you doing it; it's your minion. So
I think it's like, yeah, it's a game mechanic, but I don't think that should work like that. I actually think that is retarded.
if
That's
it works
gonna be
like
a
that,
big-
yeah,
Okay,
then it's-
yeah,
Let's say you pay 250 gold for the item. I believe, even as it is right now, if my math or my brain isn't retarded, then you will always gain from the item over time, unless the opposing team is able to punish you for buying a 250 gold item,
Mhm.
which is very hard to do unless you do it in the first like 2-3 minutes. So I think the item is already like probably pretty strong.
yeah.
I don't think it should benefit junglers.
Yeah,
even.
if it does work like that, then yeah, that's one of those things. I don't know if that would be intended, but again, you figure that would have been tested. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to try to get confirmation on that, but that would be quite the buff to junglers, no doubt. All right, so yeah, I mean that's a lot of the stuff that we wanted to cover on paper here. Now there are a couple other ones. So this is more of a interesting one here, a fun one. The MMR compression. I know you guys brought it up that whether you wanted to talk about that. Now, being players yourselves, all of you, you know, up there on the ladder as far as higher MMR players. Now, safe to say, all of you maybe were reducing the MMR because of this compression. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that this is a cool thing ultimately, and do you get it, or are you saying, are you like slapped, being like, this is
I
stupid?
can talk for one of my teammates. He's not really enjoying this
Slapped
change.
hates it.
Yeah.
He's no longer
Slapped
number
has
one.
been very salty. Aiden actually, Insane was at Stats Place yesterday just to bring him more salt.
Oh
Of the change.
gosh. Oh gosh. I saw him
Pretty
on
rough.
stream yet. Yeah, he was actually doing some fun things on stream today about that. I don't know. Again, this isn't necessarily a competitive question, but it's more of a fun one. What do you guys think on this MMR compression? Khezu?
Let me go first.
Yeah.
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's mostly fun and good. I hope that the goal was, I believe, to lower the game time that you queue for them.
Yeah.
I think in the start it's gonna be better, and like maybe people find like new blood or like whatever you want to call it, motivation to like play now, try and get like number one in TMM. But even if that happens, I think that's only gonna be temporary. I think it's like longer queue times are gonna happen because the ratings are gonna go up. At least that's what I think. I think the change is fine. It came very, what's it called, surprisingly. We did not know what was going to happen. We had a balance call like a couple days before the patch hit. It was like a week ago.
Okay.
And all we were told was that Waza was in a meeting for matchmaking to improve it. But we were not allowed to be told what it was about. So we read the patch notes and I'm like, well, this is fucking nice. Rip ratings.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall it's fine. I don't see anything bad with it.
All right. Saintrox, what did you think when you saw this?
I think it's great as well. I mean, it's just gonna be. I mean, we've had the ratings going up for a long time, and a bunch of the sync boys have been hitting the 2.1K already, and I mean that's great. But I think this is gonna bring some, as Khezu said, some new enthusiasm into the TMMing part of Han. And I would love to see some. I like we're doing like top 100 gets like name calls or something. I would love to see some actual prices so people actually would care about MMR. That would be sweet.
I mean, I can kind of speak like this is just the beginning. Like there's so many things, but when it comes to, of course, today, you know, touch on this later on, but the whole announcement of Frostburn Studios now, so no longer S2 Games, now known as Frostburn Studios, a completely different gaming company. Like there's a change in mentality, a change in idea, and we're definitely looking to enhance the game in a lot of ways. And obviously, MMR and the matchmaking itself is a big one there. So no specifics necessarily, but it's definitely this is the beginning of much more to come. I think is a fair way to put it.
I'm really happy to hear it because I think it's okay. A lot of people are hating on it because it's been really hard to get those 1850 MMR, but I still like put on your sweatpants and keep TMMing, guys. Win it back and prove you're better than the rest of them. Like
Exactly.
that's what I have to say to the community. I think it's a great change, and I look forward to it.
Znoowy, anything else to add there?
I think it's good. I think every ladder system more or less should have one of those resets or compressions at some point, just to hype things up a little bit more and reset, the number one spots and inactive members and all that kind of stuff. But I also like the fact that you no longer can see whether or not you're getting plus or how much MMR did you gain or lose for every single game. So that's gonna hopefully prevent a lot of remakes for people rage quitting the game, getting 0.4. So that's a very welcome change in my opinion. The one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about is the def RK or the MMR DK or however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
The fact that you lose 1% if you don't play for every week, more or less 5 days or 5 games per 10 days or something.
Yeah, 5 games, 10-day period. Yeah.
And speaking as someone who doesn't play team matchmaking too much, I'm more of like a mid-wars guy. Just troll around in mid-wars all the time. The few times that I play team matchmaking, then I just want a high-tier game more or less. And if I'm like at 2k MMR, that means I'm going to lose 20 MMR per day if I don't play 5 games every week, more or less. So a little bit frustration in that kind of way, but I still understand why. This is also going to force people to actually keep playing on their main accounts, on higher MMR accounts, and therefore it's going to reduce the queue times in a sense. So
yeah.
I guess it's positive.
Smurfing, things like that. So, yeah, there's definitely big goals here as far as what they want to achieve. Now, hey, I will say, too, that this is one of those things, too. It's going to be monitored pretty heavily. I mean, obviously, you make changes depending on on how it looks and whatnot, but yeah, it's me personally. I mean, I've always been a huge advocate. You know, Hearthstone's the latest example. These resets, you know, every month in their case. You know, Diablo 2 was for me for the longest time. The ladder resetting over there always brought me back to the game and wanted to check it out. Now, this isn't a straight up ladder reset by any means, but it's kind of an in between. It's a meet halfway kind of deal, and yeah, now I'm ready to grind and definitely get #1 myself. So. We'll see if that happens or not. But if I play enough Kane, then maybe those changes.
Or Hellbringer.
It's Hellbringer, man. Hellbringer, 90%.
That's true.
Yeah. You got to put on your sweatpants, man.
Well,
start team aiming, man.
Got to put on my gloves.
No, you need sweatpants on or no pants if you're team aiming. It's confirmed.
It's the only way to do it. All right. I think that okay, there are a couple more. We'll do 2 more. There's one that I did want to bring up that was kind of brought up by you guys before as well. Nighthound's kind of an interesting one that's worth at least noting that he now has the ability to level up his ultimate at level 1. So yes, you can be invis from the very beginning. I don't have the graphic here in front of me, but here you go. You can also check it out here. You no longer get the agility bonus that it was giving before, but you can be invis at level 1. So, is this Khezu? You being a suicide player? I mean, is this something? Are we going to see some suicide Nighthound? You think?
You still see him with Red Force, right?
What's up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you
yeah,
still
of
see him with
course.
Red
Yeah,
Force?
of course.
Wow, I still think it's
Otherwise, he
fun.
would be overpowered.
I still think it's cool. Like, yeah, he has some potential now. Like, you can just like run around and you can like punch them once and you don't get shown. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I like this change.
It's silly.
It's silly, but it's super fun.
It is.
So why not?
It's. I mean, I think this is already a hero that in the TMM, especially the lower, is already considered kind of cancer to an extent as far as how powerful he is and annoying he is. But that's gonna be that's what I'm curious to see how he really moves up in the lower MMR brackets and how annoying he's gonna be. But Saintrox, what do you think? Level 1 invis.
I don't know. I like the. Does he get the charge level 1 as well, where he can like hit and still be invis?
Yes,
or
he
was
can
that
hit
later?
once, use an item once, or he can do something and not get revealed.
Yeah.
I think it's cool in TMM, but I mean, if you pick him at any point in the converted game, there's gonna be a support somewhere in the game that's gonna be like, I should probably get one of those rep wars or some dust. That's gonna be fancy.
I think so.
And then Nighthound is gonna be very squishy. He's gonna have no escape, and all in all, he's probably gonna have a bad time. But I don't know. It usually Nighthound will farm level 6 or his like Nullfire Blade and then gank with his Smoke Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So now he can just like be low 2 and gank mid perhaps with a Smoke Cloud. So there's some possibilities, but I'm not sure how legit he's gonna be.
Znoowy, think there's something to this, or is this just kind of a fun change that?
I think it's a fun change. Yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't think it's going to affect too much. I was kind of like thinking or going over if you could possibly like go offensive forest, just sit behind the solstice that's farming and wait until he gets low and backstab him once. Seeing as you're invis for the first hit as well, he's not even gonna notice that you're hitting him.
Yeah, that's true.
For sometimes he's just like, oh, okay, Minotaur hitting hard today. No, but
wait a second.
Sure.
No, but in general, I don't think it's going to add too much. I think it's going to be tricky though to go up versus this if you are a suicide hero. Seeing as like if Nighthound gets level 3 or something like Smoke Bomb and his punch as well, or pounce, and then his invis on top of that. I mean, as long as the support more or less is missing from the map, then this suicide hero is not even going to be able to close in on the Nighthound because he doesn't know where he is for sure. So I feel like for suicide heroes this is going to be difficult to deal with. If Nighthound gets an early invis. But other than that, no, it's more of a fun change, I think.
Yeah. Saintrox, you were such a troll, man.
What?
Camera of yours. The one last thing I wanted to bring up here was, of course, now I know this is one that this is going to be based on what you've just seen in the video. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to really check him out in game, but the newest hero coming to New Earth, his name being Parallax, has entered New Earth now. He's the idea of the hero ultimately is that this is a magic damage hard carry, basically. Oogie-esque, but in a ranged form and a lot of AoE presence. So But that's the goal of it, the fact that he gets more and more max mana pool, and based on his mana pool and others, he does more damage with his ultimate. He has some pretty strong mobility with that fulcrum of his that he can teleport to. He has silence. He has just overall, again, good magic damage. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of Haun's newest edition here? Znoowy, we'll kind of snake back this way. What do you think? We'll start with you.
First, we'll play World of Warcraft. His first spell is very similar to Warlock's teleport, more or less. You put a portal up and then you can teleport to it. And I love seeing that. I think it's such a fun hero, or such a fun mechanic. So you just press your Q, you put it up somewhere on the map, and then you like can jump back to it when like gank attempt or something is happening. I'm not sure if it disjoints stuns. I would assume it doesn't. But in general,
I don't know.
yeah, you know, maybe someone else
know,
gets to Saintrox.
I don't think it should, because you travel with your hero without like I don't know, going from one
it
spot
feels
to the
a
other
little bit-
instantly, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
you
but I
travel.
would-
I haven't played the hero. I personally have no idea. I've seen the spotlight. That's it. I haven't spawned him in practice mode. Nothing.
Feels like it works like Valk as a leap a little bit, and that you can disjoint if you time correctly. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But nevertheless, I mean, as long as you got something that like stands out, because we got Calamity and Tarot joining tournament rules now, and I feel like this hero is a little bit similar to those in just terms of like being very squishy and easy to gank.
He has
but
escape.
yeah, I know.
He
I know.
does
He
have
got a
an
little bit of an
escape, though, yeah.
escape, but I mean, if it doesn't disjoint though, I don't feel like it's going to be the biggest change, seeing as it's a relatively low range on escape as well. It's not like a silhouette swap or anything like that. He's still gonna be, as soon as the portal keys hits more or less, then it's not going to help him. It's just going to be during the laning phase. So you're still gonna have to see how it turns out. But yeah.
Saintrox?
Anyone else who got something fun to add?
What do you got, Saintrox?
Yeah, I haven't played that hero either. But I've watched the preview of it many times now. Shout out to Honcast, and Facebook co-ops. But he seems like enjoyable enough. I like his jumping around tool and his ulti. There's some synergy there. It might take a little bit of. I haven't played him, but it looks like he might need a little bit of skill to play him well.
Oh, yeah.
Because of his squishy design, and he could be fun, but I'm still saying like Hellbringer is gonna Shrek him. There's no doubt in my mind here, and yeah.
Khezu? What do you think about Parallax?
I don't have too many opinions about the hero. I thought the ulti seemed cool and fun, and it seemed like a new mechanic that Han didn't have before. Well, it's like the way it works, at least.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a hero that I wanted to try. There was one or two of his spells that reminded me of something similar we have in Han. But what I would like in Han to have, and I've talked about it a couple times with balance designers, is like for one, I don't think any hero in Han has like a huge mana burn that just, for example, you pop it on the ground and 2 seconds later, bam, your mana is gone. I would like Han to have like 1 or 2 more mechanics that would like counter specific strategies or heroes.
Okay.
Dr. Nerf.
But I don't really have more.
Yeah. So yeah, he has it's an okay mana burn. His fulcrum basically pulses. So wherever it is, if they happen to be nearby, it'll drain I think up to 11 mana every time it pulses. So it's nothing huge, but it's AOE. And then the ultimate again, that's where I kind of like this hero, and this is where of course gives him his hard carry potential, because his passive it also gains charges throughout the game with whenever he uses his abilities, which increases maximum mana pool, and the more mana he has compared to another hero when he uses his ultimate on them, the more damage he'll be doing to them. So it's really interesting, some of these really strength heavy heroes, or even agility to an extent, that won't have the biggest mana pools, are going to really feel a lot of damage coming out from him in the end. So I want to say, I don't know if his ultimate, is it superior magic damage? I think
No, is it?
it is. But
I personally think out of a balance point of view, I think it should be.
yeah,
Yeah.
magic
I don't
damage-
think his other spells go through Shrunken. We don't
It
need
just
another
doesn't have
intelligence.
damage though.
I'm reading the tooltip because I know this was something that they were having a debate of for the longest time as well behind the scenes. So. According to the tooltip, it says enemy heroes within the area are dealt magic damage. So Yeah, again, that means obviously Shrunken Head would be a pretty hard counter, and then it takes a lot away. But well, it looks like it might just be magic damage for now, but we'll see if perhaps that gets changed or whatnot. But yeah, anyways.
I know that they had a debate about whether or not Han had too many superior magic spells or stuff that goes through Shrunken.
Yeah.
But I feel like we don't need another intelligence hero / carry that is just completely useless against Shrunken Heads. I already think the item is. Shrunken Head needs something in Han. Like it needs like a 5% nerf somehow, somewhere, in my opinion.
Make it happen.
So I don't think we need another hero that just doesn't do anything against it.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair.
Somehow it says I have 1 loss with Parallax, even though I haven't played the hero. That's nice.
Everyone starts with 1 loss. That's just a new feature in the game.
Yeah, that's nice.
Comes with the MMR.
100% for you.
That comes with MMR reset.
Yeah,
thanks.
so part of that. All right.
Thanks, Frostburn.
Yeah, right. Frostburn Studios, man. The newest deal here. Okay, guys, so I pretty much covers, I guess the one last thing, CTF, Capture the Flag. You guys excited for that? Any interest? Seeing how that plays? Saintrox, you seem a little interested?
It sounds funny. Like I like the Prophets map. It got boring a little bit too quick, in my opinion. I like the Mid Wars. I like the Rift Wars. All in all, I've been entertained by these should we call them casual maps, and I think this might be interesting as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't tried it myself. I know Znoowy has, so maybe he has some better information.
Yeah, Znoowy, you've tried it. What do you think? Capture the Flag so far.
Yeah, I was just cluelessly running around and letting the game creators carry me. So shout out to them for doing a great job. I mean, as far as I could tell, it seemed to be an action-packed game at least, and a lot of movement, but it still felt like some heroes, specifically like Magebane, Bubbles, were a little bit too overpowered. Yeah. So if you just picked up 5 heroes that has a teleport, it seemed quite difficult to actually defend the flag. But maybe this is more of instead of Mid Wars where you can troll around and solo queue, this might be a little bit more of a 5 versus 5 kind of game style. Maybe we could even see some upcoming tournaments, for example. That would be really interesting to see if it actually worked out well, because I feel like this is a little bit more about strategy and actually positioning, as well as the draft. So yeah, it's going to be fun to see at least how it evolves. But I personally, like I said, I play a lot of Mid Wars, so I really welcome these kind of maps.
Yeah. With the casual stuff, more fun. And I'm glad you pointed out about the strategic and whatnot. Honestly, Capture the Flag, when it comes down to it, it is one of the most basic game modes that's been around forever, obviously, in competitive gaming in general. But it is newer to a MOBA. And from my understanding, I don't think any other MOBA has a Capture the Flag-esque game. As far as the play style goes. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it does develop. And I will say this, when we were running the Soul Theater, when this was one of the top contestants, there was no doubt in my mind that this one had to win. And I say that specifically because the competitive value that it does bring. It actually has a chance, I think, to actually be a very solid competitive scene to it in its own right. Force the Caladivar, obviously the true 5v5 MOBA game as we know it is great and all, but why not give a little bit of diversity option when it comes to competitive play? And I think Capture the Flag could accomplish that. I'll have to wait and see if it ultimately does or not. But the strategy is going to be important, no doubt, with this mode. And that's going to be exciting to see how strategies evolve. Just even in SBT, the games that I was playing, it was developing from game to game, you could tell, as far as strategy went. So, Khezu, can you see yourself playing this mode? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think any addition to Han is good. Why not have more variety that you can play, different maps, different modes? I think it's good to have in a game. I haven't played it, I haven't seen it. I can just imagine it's fun. Even if it's not fun for me, I'm sure many others can enjoy it, so I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I just thought about something. Riptide's new ultimate. I know, for example, that Dr. Repulser can't travel more than a few or a certain distance while holding the flag. But I'm pretty sure that Riptide, since it's a channel, would actually work. Just travel from one side of the map to the other. That
would be interesting, actually. Yeah, there's.
Interesting.
There's going to be those cases, let's be honest, with a new mode like this and whatnot. There's going to be abusable mechanics, I'm sure, that'll, get tweaked and changed. So, thanks, Znoowy. Thanks for just ruining it and telling everyone to pick up Riptide. God. Thought we had everything fixed and ready to go. Okay, so now I think we are pretty much good, though. as far as covering a lot of what we wanted to here on the podcast. So that's yeah, we got a lot covered here. Talked about a lot of the bigger changes. Again, there's still more. There's still plenty more. I think there's still even more reworks that we didn't necessarily go over, but I don't want to keep too long here. We're pretty much hitting that mark that we were looking to hit. So yeah, I think it's going to be time to start wrapping up here and eventually getting ready for what's going to be the Deadeye Bounty League here in about 45 minutes from now, guys. We got Team Disband set to be taken on Fresh here in a best of 5. This is the first series right away. I mean, it's happened. The patch has been out for an hour or so, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're already getting into a tournament match. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see how that does play out here. But, of course, before we officially wrap up, I want to go around the table here and give you guys a chance to final words, any shout-outs you want to make. Khezu, we'll start with you.
All right. I'd like to give a shout-out to all the people that support myself and Sync. My parents that always support me. Let's see, Pani, my girlfriend, you guys for always casting and keeping up the hunt coverage. I'd like to give a shout out to S2 for listening to us and making a lot of balance changes. And I don't know how much this S2 hunt team being with Garena. It seems like a good change. I don't know if I'm right with that, but I would like to give a shout out to Garena anyway, even if this is a bad change. Because Thailand and like how it seems from a spectator point of view, they always manage their events really, really well, and they take care of the players just perfectly. And other than that, I would like to give a shout out to Slap's stream right now. He's streaming, guys. It's not Saturday, so you guys can tune in there. And other than that, Panny's team was gonna win 3-0 in the Deadeye Bounty League today.
Dang. Team Disband 3-0. You called it. We'll see.
Yep.
Saintrox, what do you got?
I've got gloves, but also I want to shout out to my stream. I'm going to be turning on my stream as well, and it's not Saturday or Sunday, so
it is Tuesday.
Don't be scared. Exactly. And thank you for having me here. As always, it's a great pleasure. And to the guys who are going to be TMMing when the servers come back up, watch your knees, because it's hunting season, and there's going to be arrows flying. I assure you, they're going to hit hard. I'm looking forward to that.
That's something we didn't talk about. 7,000 range Valkyrie arrows, but
yep.
I think that'll speak for itself in game. Yeah.
And shout out to Hamcake, who really wanted me. Like, he's been spamming me. So there we go. That's going to be it.
Okay. Znoowy, what do you got?
Shout out to Moraxus hype today in Deadeye Bounty League. It's Team Disband's core hero, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. Other than that, shout out to my mid-wards friends. Yeah, blind band. Okay, now I revealed too much.
Probably.
No, but no, just thanks for having me. It was fun discussing the patch. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming patches as well. And yeah, just keep up the good work. I'm excited to be part of Heroes of New York 5 years anniversary. That's a big mile mark, and yeah, looking good so far. So thanks to everyone tuning in as well.
Thank you guys for tuning in, definitely. And again, I just want to stress one more thing too. Again, guys, one of the other big things that's been brought up in chat for good reason. I mean, this is a 5-year anniversary, and you know what an announcement we were able to make today as well. No longer S2 Games. We now officially are Frostburn Studios. We are our own game development studio, owned by Garena ultimately. But again, as far as affiliation with S2 goes, no longer there. So worth noting that. But I can understand how even Khezu was getting at, and hell, when it first happened for us as far as the staff goes, you know, there was uncertainties. There was the idea that, well, this is something new. You know, what should we expect? We've been Frostburn Studios now for getting close to a year here, actually, kind of behind the scenes. And I'll say this much. I think I would like to safely say that it's showing already. I mean, from Soul Seeder, from the Haunter World Finals to going back to DreamHack, there's so many things that we've been doing behind the scenes that have been under this new ownership, this new team here, and we're definitely can't be more excited moving forward with Frostburn Studios with you guys at Heroes of Newer. So we're 5 years in, but honestly, there really is so much potential for so much more to come on many different levels, and you know, who knows what the future holds as well as far as other projects even. So it's going to be a good time, though. Heroes of New Earth definitely standing strong and getting getting better. I think we can say with this 5-year anniversary. So that pretty much will wrap it up, though, guys. Until next time, with that said, next time, about 30 minutes from now or so, we'll be coming back here. So going to shut down the stream for now. I have to set up now for the cast as far as the match goes, as well as set up the delay and everything. But we'll be back here on Honcast. The Deadeye Bounty League going to be coming at you. Fresh versus Team Disband in a best out of 5. You do not want to miss that, ladies and gentlemen, especially with this patch hitting. And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Riftwalker, Moraxus. I mean, there's just so much potential. Riptide is what I meant to say. Anyways, there's just so much potential. Maybe Riftwalker too, as far as what we can see. So again, that's happening very shortly. And apparently, Saintrox has one more thing to say before we do go.
Tell people to go vote in the casters competition as well.
Oh yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, the newest next caster. We are in the top 8 voting phase, guys. The hell was that?
That wasn't me. It was
Somebody's
people's fan.
freaking trolling me. I'm going to hang up on you guys, I swear. No, but the newest Nextcaster coming at you. Hauntour.com/Nextcaster, I believe, is the URL. Go to Hauntour.com. You check out the article as well. Anyways, the top 8 voting is now live. It's live last night. Vote if you haven't for your top 4 casters. Znoowy and Saintrox happen to be one of those 2 of the 8 candidates even, as well as all the others. Khezu, not a candidate. He wasn't good enough. Didn't make the cut, unfortunately. So
Thanks, Rick.
he'll just have to play Hunt instead. So. No, but definitely vote. There you go. Znoowy linking it in chat right there. And let us know who you want to make the top 4. And that'll be at the end of this week. We will know going into the weekend. So, okay, that's going to do it, though, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you in about a half an hour from now for the Deadeye